So my name is Matt Bruce, born in Kings Lynn, Norfolk, and then grew up in a little town in Leicestershire. I suppose I got into photography quite late. It wasn't until I was on a foundation course to then do product design that I was like, well, actually, I prefer photography as my hobby at the time. So reapplied and went straight into that at Coventry Uni. But just before that, like I said, it was just a hobby where I wanted to take pictures through my telescope because I like physics and stuff, and that just grew over time. And then it was one of the better decisions I made to do it at uni. So I don't have this flood of ideas, basically. I don't have a list of, I want to do that project, I want to do that project. So far, I think I've been quite lucky. I don't always have a goal, but I'm usually inspired to do something by something else I've seen. So there's usually a source of inspiration that, oh wow, I want to do something that's like that or about this topic. I'm very practical, process based. So I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, I want to make something in this way or use that thing to make something else. I'll think of something like in the past, so be it that weird noise you hear or some old images, a past event that you feel like you want to express or develop on. And then I'll very much think, how do I want this to look? I think that's always one of my first thoughts. How do I want it to look at the end? Like, I think the visual style of the project is always fairly cemented early on for me. And then I'll work around that. And the concept comes very much later, usually. Not so much for my current work, but yeah, it's always after visual style. I'm a big fan of create for the sake of creating, because, I mean, you've got to put the work in, obviously. It's not like I'll sit back and let things happen. It's still work hard towards something. But if you've got an idea, if you want to try something, try it. And then it takes you down this path that you wouldn't have thought of before. And I think that's, for me, was key in beginning to understand where I sit in this world of hundreds of thousands of photographers. So yeah, as I say, it started for a uni work, the degree show work. So it was nice to have, well, a school year, effectively. It was nice to have that time on it. The pressure wasn't there there was much more free time with it, you could experiment. Like, that was a key point of it, was to have the experimentation in there. And so I lived with a lot of the people I did foundation with, so they were all doing a different course of automotive. And so there's just car parts all over the house, everywhere. It's great. It didn't really go anywhere for a long time. I was very stuck with it. And then it developed into this found object piece. And what the surroundings that you find the object in, what that tells you about its history. And it just became this, kind of got put together in this narrative way again, I suppose. I tried to be as ambiguous as possible with it, because I want the viewer to ask the same questions I was, sort of thing. So I want them, as you go through it, I want them to be like, well, what is it? What am I actually looking at? Where are these things? Like, I want them to look as one found place, like that they're all connected somehow, even though they're really not. And so it's like, why are these important? Why are these being shown to me in this way? And then through those questions, like everyone comes up with a different answer. They're not really about what they were used for as such. That's a part of it, but it's very much how they are now, what their uses are now. I think that was the first time I'd actually staged a photo, if you can call it staged. Like, it wasn't like, it was just placed in a certain way for certain reasons, sort of thing. I've never really done that. I'm always very much documentary, kind of, oh, here it is as it is, take it or leave it kind of thing. So it became about the decline in industry standard objects. So how quickly that stuff moves on and leaves these objects to be found stored away in attics or just outside in unused landscapes. And so I wanted to join all these objects together in a narrative somehow. It's very much a collage, I suppose, of storylines and themes that just come together, and it's like, here's a story, put it together kind of thing. So the zine I did, the On Account of Rain, that was an exercise just to entertain myself. We went to a car meet, but it got called off because it was raining. So, naturally we still went. We were on the way when it got called off, so we still went, took the pictures because, it's an empty racetrack. It looks cool. Why wouldn't you take pictures? And I thought, I've got to do something with it. But then I sat on it for like a year or two because it felt empty. It wasn't complete. And then I was like, let's see if I can add something to it. And then I was like, poetry, it's a different media. It's something I'm interested in incorporating. I want to try different avenues and such. And then just before the whole lockdown, like, we started discussing it with the writer who I knew from school. I knew they went into writing. We'd been chatting on and off, like since school, as you do. And then I was like, I think I posted the pictures actually first, just on Instagram, just like, here's some pictures. I think she might have replied to that. And then I was like, in response, I was just like, hey, do you still do writing? Do you want to write something in response to this? So she had the title and the images. I was like, you can either write one poem or lots of little ones, is totally up to you. Because at the time I was going to an art book fair in London, so I was trying to get some work together for it. Just worked for a couple of weeks on like designing it into the book, and back and forth a little bit, and then finally got it printed. It was very natural in terms of that. So, I took the pictures ages ago while at uni, and I finished uni, had some time on my hands, and then it just rolled out, played out very naturally. So at school, I was always in the DT studio. I was always doing my work, and then so that was never lost as such. And I think one of the modules at uni again, I can't remember which one. I was doing terrible at it. I think I had like a week left and I had no work. So I was just like, okay, well, let's make a really simple pinhole camera. But because it was me, I was like, I want to go to the wood shop at uni, so let's make like a big view camera without the view. So just point it and put the paper in. And that was like my first experience of it. And that was, quite a few years ago. And then, uni took over. I never really continued with it, but it was always still interesting. I always wanted to develop on it. And then we get to 2020 and we're in lockdown, and I'm super bored because I was at work, but then I wasn't at work. And so I was like, well, I've got all this time on my hands. I don't want to waste it. And we've got a wood burner, so we've got loads of scrap wood in the shed. So I was like, surely now is the time to make a camera. But I get consumed by a project. Like if I'm doing a project, I will finish it and like I'll work on it until it's done. I'm sure it's very annoying for people I live with. But yeah, so the first one was the Polaroid one that was out of the book board. And it's very much, I don't like to plan. I'm not very good at it. I just started cutting up some cardboard, measuring stuff and cutting it up, gluing it together. And it worked, like I know the rough basics. Like that's what I love about it actually. Like I love how simple photography can be. Like it's literally a lens, a light proof box, and a sensor, a bit of paper, film, whatever it is. But then when you start actually making stuff, you realize how complicated it gets. And then I finished the first camera. The next day I was bored again, so I was like, all right, let's make another one. But up the game a bit, like use actual film, because that's so much more complicated, it turns out. And that was when I was like, I miss woodshop stuff, so let's make it out of wood this time. It's a bit more durable. And then like a month and a half of tinkering later, it was finally done. So my new work I'm still doing it. It's nowhere near finished. It's barely started, I suppose. I plan on finishing it during my master's kind of thing. I've got all these ideas and thoughts just written on a page, but no like concrete thing yet. It's just going to be so wacky, I suppose. Like the themes within it will hopefully seem a bit odd, but believable. That's the aim, at least. I think I got woken up at like 2 or 3 a.m. And there was just this humming noise. Like it sounded like a big diesel engine down the street, just idling. So I go to my window, open it, try and see like what's that noise. But I get to the window, and it stops. I'm like, what? I open the window, it's not there anymore. So I'm like, okay, shut the window, step back, and it's there again. And it's just super loud, like in certain spots. I go around the house, it's somewhere, and then it's not. So I cannot find out where it is, but I can't go back to sleep. And then, so I do that dangerous thing of Googling it. I Googled if there was any construction work or something just going on locally, and there was nothing. And I was like, humming noises. And then I fell down this rabbit hole of conspiracy theories of like satellite noise pollution and microwaves and stuff. And I was like, I knew it was there, but I was shocked at how easily you could fall down this path of nonsense but believable stuff. But it's like, what, really? And so that just kind of sparked this idea of taking the viewer on this path of research that is quite outlandish at first, but as it resolves, you kind of share that feeling of resolution when you're finding out something new and it all clicks. I want to get that feeling across in this outlandish story.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, I would kindly ask you to consider liking it and maybe subscribing. Aside from that, I'll leave some links in the description to Matt's website, his social media, and also his shop, just in case you'd like to purchase any of his printed work. So my social media and Reservoir social media will also be available somewhere in the description or in the screen right now. So with that, I'll thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you soon.